Go ahead.
All right, here we are, Geneva College, a day early because I've got a busy day tomorrow. We'll be back on the radio tonight, and the Power of Bowser Friday Night Lights action this week. So many great people, including Coons Market, the Allegheny Health Network, M7, and more, is Mars at Aliquippa. So that's a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, very nice.
All right, look, I know it was a rough day for you, Grove City, but your quarterback doesn't go. And we talked about that a little bit last week. Second drive, they go the distance, and then they just keep piling it on. There's a reason why they have the ranking they do, but let's just recap that horrible loss to Grove City shutout. Go ahead.
We had a lot of young guys playing. The takeaway that we got from it was the effort our kids gave. And I know coaches say that when they get blown out or whatever, but truly, we made a few mistakes on defense, and when we made those mistakes, they made us pay for it.
Right.
But there are parts of that game where, when I look at it from a special team standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, there were a lot of good things that we did. And from an offensive standpoint, it was just, we didn't have a scrimmage. We're playing a quarterback that's, a hybrid kid, and he is the greatest. And in our offensive line, that was the first start those guys had in a Geneva uniform. So, give the credit all to Grove City. They're a great team. They're going to win a lot of games. But we'll get this thing going.
So before we talk Carnegie Mellon, I just want to, as I walk in here every week, I just see all of the joy in the faces, the students, the administration.
Except me.
No, I know. But I want to explain something here. You had so much success early, and it's still why 32 years later you got more wins and losses. Where do you think the pendulum started to swing a little bit? And I'm not going to ask you to make excuses, but I know you have a winning attitude because you were a winner for so many years, and I think all of us kind of took it for granted. And I know this isn't easy what you're going through right now, but where do you think and why do you think the pendulum started to swing? Because you are graduating incredibly fine young men who go on to do incredible things in the community, and they're full of a whole lot of faith, which is the most important thing. But where do you think things started to change?
I don't really want to look back and analyze that. I would much rather tell you that I personally made some decisions. When you stay in a place a long time,
right,
you have to make some decisions that you plan for the future. You're planning, and you're trying to stay one step ahead of what was going on. And I made a couple of decisions just with the program in general that didn't pan out. It didn't pan out. It didn't come the way we wanted to. Whatever. Whether it was me, the way we recruited, we've done a lot of different things, and I'm not afraid at all to change and try new things, even though stay here. So with what's going on right now, we're in a situation where we're trying to invest for the future of this program. We want to win this week, but we're playing a lot of young kids, and we're playing again against one of the best teams in the country.
They're nationally ranked.
Yeah, they're nationally ranked, and honestly, they probably should be ranked higher than what they are.
Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah, they're very good, and I give them a lot of credit. I give one of my close friends in coaching, Rich Lackner, is
Good coach.
yeah, and he was a legend. He and I talked often, and on Saturday they're going to name the field after him, which is a big deal for Rich. But I think just a series of events, decisions, whatever. I said this to our players. When you look back at history, we have to learn from history.
Mm-hmm.
We can't bury it. We can't hide from it. We can't pretend it didn't happen. We have to learn from it. And I'm learning more and more and more later in my coaching career than I did, in those early years. I think the biggest thing is, what's the purpose? How do you define success? Because everybody is going to define it by how many wins you have, what the scoreboard says. You're gonna define it by, is your business successful, is it not? I mean, however it's defined, and right now, when you look at where we are, especially last week's performance, it's a tough look. That was one of the toughest ones. But we've been in this before where we had a whole new, I don't want to say a rebuild, but that's what we're doing. And keep these kids together, it's going to pay off. It will.
Well, I've always said it can go one way or the other way. That pendulum swings back too. But let me just throw out a couple of little analogies as I'm sitting here listening to you. So I had Jim Render when he was coaching the WPIL in Beaver Falls last week at the Larry Bruno Foundation. And I was talking to him, and we were just talking about everything, numbers and how things change. And I mentioned Mars Aliquippa a while ago. If you look at Mars out in that part of this wonderful place was Western Pennsylvania, when we were growing up, it was farmland.
Right.
Now it's got a population similar to what Aliquippa had when we were growing up. So things do change. But I've been harping on why I believe U.S. Steel has to be, this deal's got to get done with the pond steel, all of the jobs. We grew up during the height of the steel industry when the WPIL had huge numbers. And I was thinking about Jim Render, who was so happy to be in Beaver Falls. And I started thinking back. I mean, here's a guy who coached at Uniontown, grew up in Ohio.
Graduate assistant at WVU.
Right, where you were at one time. Not in the same,
not at the same time.
No. But that's something we're very proud of. But the reason he was locked in down there at the Larry Bruno Foundation, because he was thinking about Coach Bruno, and when Beaver Falls was graduating, 600 kids, so there was a lot more to choose from. You still are able to bring so many wonderful people to this school, but there's a lot of other schools out there too that are in areas that have major populations, so they have a good foundation to start with. Does that make any sense at all to you?
Oh, it makes great business sense. I think one of the toughest things in higher academia, especially in the Northeast, and especially with small private schools, is being able to fill a recruiting class. And I'm not talking just as football, but just to be able to have enough students. We've seen schools that have closed, and the administrators at Geneva have done an amazing job of keeping us out of debt. You see a lot of schools that close because they don't know how to manage debt. They don't know how to manage their cash flow. And, by the grace of God, we've been able to stay open. Right. But it does not discount the fact that you said that we are living in an area that is from a demographic standpoint, I mean, we're losing young people. I mean, something has got to change. Something has got to happen for us to be able to keep these young people that pass through these doors here and pass through this college. We got to try to keep these people in the greater Pittsburgh area. How do you do that? I think one of the things is you wish we could have maintained the corporate status that we had,
in Pittsburgh,
30 years ago.
30 major corporations.
Right, 30 years ago. But by and large, I don't want to go down a
rabbit hole. I understand what you're saying.
But the demographics are.
Well, let me just kind of give you an example of why I believe in Geneva College. My brother-in-law, John Manzini, graduated from here. He's done extremely well. My sister, who graduated in Salutatorian New Brighton, wonderful woman. They live in Chippewa. She went to school here for a while. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But I'm actually next Wednesday going to have lunch with one of your most famous alum.
Right.
And I'll just kind of tell people how things happen and why Geneva has such a rich history and some things that people may not even believe unless we tell the story. And anything can happen. So I'm working as a maitre d' at a local supper club at the mall. The Geneva College basketball coach comes in to have lunch or dinner or something. And I said, can I get you anything else? And he said, yeah, maybe a guard that can shoot off the dribble or something. I don't know. I said, well, I have a friend who's 2 years in at CCBC, and he may want to continue to play basketball with you. One thing led to another. That person turned out to be Joe Hogan. Joe, of course, goes on when GE and Jack Welch were skyrocketing. Another example how corporate America has changed. They were a powerhouse, and now they're trying to reshuffle the deck, and I'm hoping that they figure it out. But then after him running, the medical division there and involved in plastics and doing very well, he ends up now, he's the guy behind Invisalign, which if you watch an NFL game, that's a major sponsor, and they're helping people, straighten their teeth and their lives out, I guess, right?
Right.
But anyway, every time I come here, I think of that story and so many others, and I see all of these young students, and I think, you know what? Anything is possible. And if I had a child, I would want them to go here. And I was talking to you about my daughter earlier, right? Eva just wants to stay in Beaver County. She loves Beaver County. She's got a college degree from Penn State. She wants to get a job that she can just grow into that job. When we were growing up, the mills were still around. That was a possibility. What worries me, and I think one of the reasons why we need Geneva, we need places where children can come from this tri-state, get a good degree, faith-based, leave here better than they were when they came, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And if they want to stay, there'll be jobs available for them that they can utilize their degree and stay put. That's the only way we're going to continue to have a strong foundation in Beaver County. And that's why I do these videos, to promote not just Geneva and football, but this place we call home, which is the tri-state.
One of the interesting conversations I had with some time ago with a person who is very, very well versed in the demographics of Beaver County and has given his life to education here. The idea of being able to have maybe less high schools, more offerings for the students, and some sort of plan to be able to have them plugged into a place like Geneva or the Community College of Beaver County, or even Penn State Beaver after. When you start thinking about a 16-year education,
Right.
that it's a very, very interesting thing, but we have to do something. Something has to get, the demographics are such, and that's why when you said Mars used to be just, now it's, and people are going where the job growth is, and
Do you see any future in Beaver County because of like the natural gas or the possibility we got a $200 million steel mill being built now? But do you see some hope somewhere, Gene?
Well, I think you have to live and try to envision some hope. Envision with hope to be able to continue. I do believe that one of the key factors is what's going on right now in public schools. I think we need to do something to
ignite a fire.
To ignite a fire, to be able to give the students that are in Beaver County all the necessary resources they need. And I am not talking about football. I'm talking about academics, some sort of an idea. And I do believe that there's administrators and some local people that are going to get together and come up with some ideas on how we can best serve the students, because then you have an educational system that people will want to move into the district. The other side of it is, I do believe that depending on what happens with political landscape, fracking is, we're sitting on a gold mine, and we haven't even scratched the surface yet.
Real quick, and we are going to finish with football, but the great thing about Geno, we talk about not just football, but what it's about, our children, grandchildren, and life, and I don't think there's a better foundation than Geneva College, and that's why I come here as much as I can. But you remember Dick Shaw, who ran Michael Baker.
Sure.
Joe Hogan will be the first to tell you, truly an inspiration to many, a mentor to me. And one of the last things he said to me before he passed, and he lived into his 90s, I said, "Do you have any regrets?" He goes, "I wish I was younger." And I said, "Really, why? You have such a great life." Because I really want to see where this is going to go. He told me, before they even broke ground, but they just had broke the news about the Shell cracker plant, He told me, he said, Rob, it reminds me of when we were in Saudi Arabia with Michael Baker, laying the groundwork for what has become OPEC. I believe that we have the same ability in this country, but instead of oil, it will be natural gas. So stranger things have happened, but they're just, I've got a feeling if we could just get some of these deals done, like Nippon Steel and others, we will actually have a commodity that will be able to be traded on the global scale.
market.
Right. You know, they'll come to us like they did for steel and so many other things, like even oil, long before it went to Saudi Arabia. So I still believe there's a lot of hope.
You have to live with hope. I mean, you have to. I mean, there's a scripture that says we serve the God of hope.
Right.
And I think when we get together and start realizing that we have an issue, we have a problem. I mean, let's identify the fact that and admit that it's kind of like the way we played last Saturday.
Right.
It'd be foolish for me to sit here and kind of just brush aside, that wasn't a fluke. They're a really good football team. We are going to be a good football team someday. We're going to be a good football team someday.
Well, you see, you have to be a man of faith, and I know you are, because I know how much you are competitive, you want to win, but you just keep looking at that hope aspect and a better day. And I really do believe it will happen. Now, this week, Carnegie Mellon, they bring so much to the table. Can you take anything from the Grove City loss or playing another Titan like Carnegie Mellon? Is there anything that you can actually teach these young men from something like this?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and it's something that is a great lesson in life, is just resiliency. Get off the mat. I mean, you know, if you're in a corner, what are you going to do as a boxer? You're going to just sit there and get punched? I mean, there's only one way to get out of the corner in the ring.
Forward.
You got to. You got to get off the canvas. You know, and that's how you do it. Yeah, you just have to keep playing.
All right.
To keep punching.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say this because I know they're making me say this, so I'm going to say it. Life is about not how hard you hit, but how hard you can take a hit and keep moving forward.
Right.
All right, last thing. Are you concerned a little bit about spirituality in this country and where we're headed? Do you feel as though people aren't buying into their faith as much as they should? It concerns me, and I'm nowhere near as religious as you, but sometimes I wonder if people actually get the big picture, especially are we teaching our young people? And I've done my best to teach my kids. It worries me, and as long as we have a Geneva College to lean in on, it gives me hope.
That very question is the reason why I took the football job at Geneva College.
The spiritual aspect.
The spiritual aspect. If this wasn't a Christian school, I would never have done it.
And one of the reasons you're still here?
Is because it's a Christian school. And I think you brought up the question. I think we do have a lack of leadership. I think there's a lack of leadership with men concerning a faith-based approach to life.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've given our kids everything that we've tried to give them in terms of the American dream, and in some way we left God out of the picture. And I'm not blaming the generation. I'm saying the onus is on us. Like, what are we doing? How have we let it get to this? And I know I'm sounding like an old man with this.
Yeah, but if this was 30 years ago, you'd have been.
Oh, I'm still the same thing. It was
exactly.
But
But we need more of you.
No.
30 years now, later.
Well, what I'm saying is, I look at me and I understand how corrupt and how at times I'm not walking the walk.
Right.
All right, and it's just the way what happened when you in a society that's deprived.
Spirituality is something that you just have to have.
I could not continue my life if it wasn't for my walk with Christ. And I think the issue is, what are we putting our faith in?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I put all my faith in our ability to win football games over the years, that's gone. If I could put all my ability into, growing my hair.
I will say one thing. Every Friday night before I fall asleep, I do ask God to give you a win.
Well, yeah, I got to tell you what a win is.
But can I tell you something?
Can I tell you what a win is?
Huh.
And somebody sent me this today. You know, a win, and this is, a lot of people think this is loser talk. But a win is when you can go through really difficult times, real difficult times. Okay, and you act like you're a winner, or you respond as a champion. You respond in a matter of, we're in a tough place right now, but we're gonna find a way. God's gonna help us find a way.
All right, Carnegie Mellon this week. And let me just say, I've been doing these things for years, and I worked with him long before this. And when they were winning, I would come here. It was X and O's, deep in thought, in meetings, going over film. And even though times have been a little tough, I come here to this day. It's like it was 1998 all over again. You're still working hard. You're still putting in the time. You're still breaking down film. Your coaches are in it. I see enthusiasm, and I see these great students in this wonderful place on College Hill. So winning is not everything. It would help, but there's a whole lot more to it than
Well,
that.
I mean, if you're in athletics, you got to win. I mean, it's just the great. You have to win. It's.
But isn't it nice though to see some of your student athletes come back and they're either in some sort of faith-based job or corporate job, or they're just good dads and good moms and good people.
Yeah, and with that, it's just because of a Geneva education. More importantly, it's because the kid, they've devoted their life to Christ, and it's all him. It's not me. It's not Geneva. It's all him.
Well, I will tell you one thing. Judge Jim Ross, good friend of ours, he said something today that really made me smile, and I've been thinking about it ever since. You know, I said, I've been going around doing all these different high schools for years, and look, I've been to the big schools, the NAs, the Pine Ridge ones, but I love New Brighton, so I do these things with John McCougan, Joe Grieco before him, and sometimes I see these athletes and they look so small, and I'm like, man, I remember giants, when I played. And he said, just remember, I was just starting, and they had some really good teams when he was there. He said, graduated with my sister Melanie, and he said, just remember, I was like 150, 55 pounds as an offensive guard.
He was.
So I just thought to myself, you know what? Everything's relevant. You just got to believe in yourself.
Right. He played so hard, and he played with his head. I mean,
Literally.
that's why he became.
Well, how
an
big were you
attorney.
when you played? But you know what he said? He goes, if you were 225, you were big back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you've got these linemen in some of these 5A and 6A schools, they're 300 pounds. And they're running 4.7, 4.6 40s.
Right.
In high school.
Well, I wasn't 6'4" at any time in my life, so.
I wish I could have got Jim Render up here to see you.
Yeah.
All right, listen, don't jump up.
Yeah.
Relax. All right, we're going to head over to New Brighton, talk to Coach McCouga. Busy night tomorrow night, too. Really exciting stuff, so I hope you'll tune in for that. And I'm also going to be back on the radio tonight at 7 o'clock. It's your Pratt Pack, Geneva College in Beaver Falls.